So if ever there was a secret trick to trading successfully, this would be it. In the best question we've had yet. Okay, so how do you remove emotional reactions from your own personal trading? Okay, so it's a top-notch question there, one that goes overlooked far too much, and I want to get into this, be quite specific and sort of give you some actionable steps if I can to implement into your own trading. Now, this is a problem that's external to the markets obviously, but it's a huge problem because if you don't address this problem, it doesn't matter what strategy you've got, you're deviating away from the plan. So being emotional or being over emotional when trading is a problem. I can see what you've said in your question there about being a robot. That would be ideal. Obviously not all of us are sort of those conehead nerds with 6 fingers that can run lots of automation. If that's you, I'm sorry about that. But that's not necessarily applicable to all of us. So you need to learn how to manage your own emotions whilst trading in the moment, because that is the only time you can really address this problem. So in terms of sort of actions as to how you can deal with this, I think the first thing to say is you need to identify what your own sort of little personal tics are, if you like, the things that set you off, because that is very personal, it's very specific to each individual. I can't give you a blanket answer for that as much as I'd like to. What may set me off may not set someone else off, and obviously somebody who's been trading for a longer time may react very differently to somebody who's just new into it. You may have come from a gambling background, you may not have. You may be one of those people that blood pressure goes through the roof instantly over the smallest problem. You may be someone that's quite chilled out, and so it's going to vary widely depending on your own personal temperament and what sets you off. So the first thing to do is to actually identify what sets you off. Because prevention is always better than cure. I know it's a very cliche saying, but it's true. You can't sort of backtrack and undo a bad trade within the markets. You can't rewrite it after it's happened as much as you'd like to. It's not a computer game, there is no little hack. So you need to know what makes you tick, what sets you off, and then you can foresee that tick, or as it's starting to develop or happen, and you would have been hitting the mouse and clicking extra times, staking up when you didn't need to, and acting irrationally. That's the first stage, to identify the problem and know when you're about to do it, because obviously once you can just foresee that as a whole anyway, you can actually prevent it a lot easier. I'm not saying you can definitely prevent it, but you can prevent it a lot easier. So the other thing I think to address with this as well is that you said about being like a robot there. I think to look at it like that and to completely debug yourself, to refer to one of the other previous questions, the Q&A, that you can't necessarily debug yourself. You are a human, you're going to have emotions at the end of the day, everybody does. If you didn't, it would probably be quite, you wouldn't be much fun to be around. So you can't necessarily go as far as thinking that you're going to completely eradicate this, because you're not. What you can do is control it a lot more and dampen it down when that feeling becomes heightened. So without going off on a tangent there, first of all you want to recognise what's happening. You want to recognise that tick's been activated within yourself. Secondly, you want to just outright bam, you want to just break the cycle. Get out of the room, get up, get out of the room. That is the easiest and the most obvious advice I could give you in one sense, but it's the only real way to actually break the emotional cycle that's happening there and then. That's something that I experienced a lot in the past, and if you're pressured for the amount of time that you have to trade, it's less than ideal. In fact, I'll tell you in a second, but I had a problem myself whereby I'd want to be trading a lot when I could, and so to break that and get out of the room and then miss a race just seemed like insanity in one sense, because I was very limited. But you need to break that cycle is what I'm saying. So first of all, you need to recognise what makes you tick. Second of all, you need to break the cycle, get out of the room, and depending on the type of person you are, as we said specifically at the beginning, you need to get out for a longer period of time possibly if you're a bit of a hothead. Third of all, you need to sort of replace that behaviour to reinforce it with better behaviour. So On the occasions that you realise that you're about to do that, you do manage to break the cycle, you come back in, you carry on trading, you want to replace that behaviour with something that's far more positive. If that means saying to yourself that, you know, that would have been a foolish mistake but it didn't happen, reinforcing that good. It's kind of like the whole, you know, treating a dog, you tell it off if it's bad, you reinforce it if it's good. You want to do that on yourself on a milder version. But basically you want to reinforce that behaviour, and you want to continue that period and that cycle for as long as you possibly can without breaking it, without deviating, or without doing anything silly. Now, if you manage to do that for sort of like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month, you'll find over a period of time you just naturally stop doing it so much. And that is the number one easiest way that I can give you to remedy that emotional problem. I noticed your man there said in the second comment as well that he finds that when he's euphoric and he's doing very well, the same thing happens. That's not unusual as well. I've also had that. I've said about self-limitation in different videos on YouTube. But basically, at the end of the day, just to quickly recap, what we're looking to do here is identify the problem, recognise that it's actually an issue, break the cycle, get out of the room for a second, just to bring the, you know, your blood pressure back down, chill out, relax, where you make more rational decisions again, reinforce it with something better, and then just complete the cycle as much as you possibly can for the longest period of time. That's the best answer I can give you to dealing with that emotional response. But at the end of the day, you've got to take a step back. You've got to be realistic. You know, we are people, we are emotional creatures by nature. It's not something that you can rewrite and remove, unless of course you're automated trading, in which case it's never even a problem in the first place. So finally, before I shoot off, one question for you guys: what do you deem to be your biggest problem when trading manually in the moment, be it emotional or maybe not even emotional, but let us know in the comments. What is the biggest problem for you? What makes you tick and sets you off? Because you'll probably find that other people watching this video have the same issues, and maybe you can help each other out a little bit there in the comments, and I'll contribute as much as I can as well.